Okay, thank you very much for that question. Basically, there are key things, two policies that you can actually attribute to the current government. Of course, a lot of people have clamored that some of those policies are not to the benefit of an average Nigerian. But the one that actually stood out for me is the removal of subsidy. And, because there's one thing, for a long time, Nigeria has been servicing debt, worth about 7 trillion annually for just for consumption. And there's no way to develop an economy by just consuming your future. What we do is that we buy fuel at subsidized rate. Simply means that we are just consuming our today and we are consuming our future. But now let's put it into perspective. Imagine 7 trillion. You actually invest 1 trillion in education, 1 trillion in creating a tech hub, 1 trillion in medical to create adequate medical facilities for the nation, and so on and so forth. That is how to grow a nation. And that's exactly what the current government is trying to do in that regard. Of course, it will be very painful, but because for me, Nigeria looks like a Burj Khalifa, but that does not have a very strong foundation. We can continue to build it and continue to build it. But the danger is that a day will come like Venezuela, when Nigeria will see the full impact of actually just continue to build a nation without foundation. But with what we currently have on ground now, it simply means that there's more cash in the hand of the government and in the hand of the governors. But at the same time, we will not also forget the fact that we also need to call the governors questions. Because as much as they are not having more cash in their hand, because when you compare with the FAC allocations last year with what we are currently having now, let's continue to compare an average of about 650 billion to over 1 trillion now. So it simply means that the governors are having close to 2 times of what they used to have. So the time has come for the governors to now actually invest such funds in what will actually further develop the economy. And the era of actually making Nigeria suffer for infrastructure is gone. They have more money in their hands, and we have been seeing what some governors are already doing. We saw what's happening in Abia State. We saw what's currently happening in Lagos State. We saw what's happening in some state where you cherry pick around. And I think the other governors still need to learn from these people so that we can see the full impact of the fuel removal, for me, a subsidy removal. For me, I think it's one of the great things that we do. It's something that actually requires someone to actually be bold for you to actually take such decisions. So I think I agree with you 100%. It's just because I've just spoken, I didn't speak too further about that. I think one of the errors that I keep saying about the current government is the fact that the day subsidy removal was actually implemented, the failure to actually simultaneously increase the minimum wage. And I think that is one of the shortfalls of the current government. And it's even very disturbing that up to today, we've not seen any improvement in terms of minimum wage. I'm not averse to the fact that, you remove subsidy. But we also need to understand that the quality of life of Nigerians is also very important. Like I mentioned earlier on, I mentioned the fact that governors now have more money in their pockets. So if you have such huge money in your pockets, I see no reason why any governor in this country will be unable to actually pay 100,000 as minimum wages. I don't see any reason why. Because you have almost double what you used to earn as FAC allocation, and that is aside of what you need to generate in your state internally. So I feel that one of the shortfalls of the government is failure to simultaneously implement minimum wages. And for me, I think time is tickling, because in no time we'll celebrate 1 year in office, and it simply means that we'll celebrate 1 year of removal of subsidy. And with the 1 year of removal of subsidy, it simply means that for 1 year we have suffered people by not increasing their take home. And I think that's one of the shortfall of the current government. Well, I was talking about the key policies that he has enacted that actually I feel that were very impactful. I actually picked removal of subsidy over harmonization of the FX window. And I think why I did that was the fact that The government did not do their due diligence before actually jumping to conclusion around harmonization of the FX window. Is it right to actually harmonize the window? I'm telling you, very good. Because how would you now make justification to a situation whereby an average Nigerian needs to get FX at 750, but there are some people that get same FX at 470 at a particular window? It simply means that we are giving incentive to specific people and not to the whole populace. And that's one of the reasons why the government taught the dignitary to say they need to actually harmonize the windows. But what they fail to understand is that they should have done their due diligence. The investigation they did on CBN should have been the first thing before actually embarking on that policy. I'm sure they jumped into conclusion on looking at the fact that we have about $35 billion in our reserve. Of course, everybody felt that if a nation has $35 billion in your reserve, of course, there's no reason why you find it very difficult to actually defend your currency. Because simply means you have a lot of ammunition in your armory to actually defend your currency. But just like a month after that, Tinubu actually mentioned that JP Morgan came out with a report saying that what we have in our reserve, the true value is about 3.5 billion. It simply means that majority of the funds sitting in our reserve has been encumbered. And that's the whole beginning of where we found ourselves now. Because as a result of that, people begin to panic. And we see people start speculating on the currency. And that's one of the reasons why we got to a level that Naira were just on a daily basis. Naira was just depreciating at alarming rate. But if you look at what the current monetary policy guys are doing, I think I will rate them now over time. They are doing a very great job. You see, one thing about it is that monetary policy can not only solve the problem of the country. It has to be, as much as we are seeing the impact of the monetary policy guide, we also need to see the impact of the fiscal policy guides. And if you talk about the increase in NPL, one of the reasons why we need to increase NPL, one, you need to attract foreign investors into your market. You need short-term gap to actually stop the current implementing Naira. And that's one of the reasons why we need to actually take rate up. Also, another reason why we need to take rate up is two-sided. It's the fact that we are fighting inflation. We don't want to get to a level where Naira will become a paper, just like what we saw in Zimbabwe. So we need to be very careful at that particular point in time. And it falls within the duty of the central bank to ensure the stability of the currency. And the central bank don't have too much ammunition in their armory to actually combat that. What they need is maybe open market operations, increase in interest rates, maybe CRR, some of those things as metrics to actually combat that. So at that particular point in time, they need to be aggressive with what they did, and that's exactly. And also, don't forget that since the month of July, we had never had any MPC meeting. July, September, November, January until the one we had last month. So imagine we are just doing like maybe just about 100 basis points. Of course, we would have just done like 400 basis points. So for me, I think the monetary policy guys are doing very great job. And also they keep us shunning out circular around the way to actually defend Naira. Just today, we found out that they sold dollars to BDC at 1,101 Naira. So it's also telling you that they are charting the trajectory at which Naira should go. And that's exactly what will happen in the market. You see, the current thing is that the current government have felt that oil is not enough to give us the much needed dollar revenue to actually salvage or quality continue to actually protect our currency. And that's one of the reasons why we saw what they've done in the mining industry. The government is actually big on the mining industry. What they first did was that to actually chase away most of those people, those miners that they were non-legalized to actually operate in that industry. And as we speak currently, the industry is open for opportunity. If you look at the last GDP, the mining industry grew in a long time, and it actually grew aggressively. And so when you look at things like that, it a lot of opportunity to small scale individual or entrepreneur that actually want to play in that industry. We have arrays of natural resources that we can play with in that industry. And aside that also, we also need to look at the issue of agriculture as well, because aside oil, the only other sector where I feel that you can actually get a sizable revenue is actually in the agricultural sector. Of course, we've seen in the past where the government have pumped a lot of money into that sector, but yet we are not seeing the full dividend of that sector. But this current government, they're actually very much deliberate about it. They are not only looking about you actually growing, they are looking at also converting what you have grown into a finished product that can actually be exported out of the country. And that the CBN governor also mentioned that they are ready to actually help small scaling businesses, medium, small scaling businesses. And also, we also have some banks that their focus is around specific a level of business. When you look at GT, what comes to mind is about their food show. When you talk about Fidelity, what comes to mind is SME, MSME, because that is their strength and that's what they currently do. So it simply means that you have where to actually source for finance, and at the same time you have opportunity where you can actually play with. And considering that this sector, they are actually just coming, like the mining sector is something that's just coming up. So it simply means that you can also take advantage of sector as the first mover advantage on that sector. The reasons why the prices of goods went up ab initio wasn't because, and there should be reasons for us to see that immediate jump in prices. It was because a lot of people, businesses are now actually adopting more like replacement cost system, where you look at what is the cost of replacing this product back into my store. And that is very key. Of course, it makes a lot of sense. But immediately we saw price actually dropping. Nobody's actually adopting that. People are now using cost plus margin method as a way to actually price goods. And we've seen some states actually quickly swinging into action. Over the weekend, Lagos State actually said that no supermarkets must have goods that does not have price tag. And that's one of the way forward. Because I've seen situation where I've gotten to a supermarket and I was wondering, all the goods, there's no price tag. So it's something when you get to the counter at the point of payment that you know what is the price of these goods. And that is a way to actually take advantage of Nigerians. And aside that also, I think that the government needs to wake up the price control board. This is the time for them to actually swing into action. Because if at that particular point in time, when Naira was depreciating, and we keep adjusting price on a daily basis, I think we should also be seeing the same benefit as we speak currently. And also, aside that, also manufacturers, big manufacturers also, we need to actually call them to question. Because if at that particular point in time they keep releasing documents saying that they are increasing the price of their goods as a result of depreciation Naira, and I'm mentioning cost of inputs as one of the reasons why they are increasing the price of their product. But now that the cost of inputs is actually dropping, what are they doing? I don't think it should take that long time before people start reversing back to the appropriate prices. So now an average Nigerian will not want to move until when government move. And I think it's a time for government to actually be very hawkish in their action. So for me, I think firstly, what I would say to an average Nigerian a time like this is not a time for us to be extravagant. It's a time for us to actually cut costs to the barest minimum. It's not a time where you need to actually buy luxury. It's a time you need to actually focus on necessity as we speak currently. For an average Nigerian, currently, it could be very tough. Some of these policies could be very, very painful. But I'm very, very sure that in the end, will see that the benefit was actually pan out very, very great to people. And also, I also want to encourage people that when you are investing in such a time like this, not a time for you to gamble. It's a time for you to be conservative in the kind of investment you put your money. And in a time where it looks like the economy is tough, that's where you keep seeing different Ponzi scheme actually introduced or rolled out into the economy. This is not a time for you to gamble with money because everybody is looking for a way to make money. So at this particular point in time, it's better for you to be very, very active, very conservative in your kind of investment. If you don't have an idea of any investment, please don't dabble into it. If you feel that the investment is actually very attractive, you can seek further understanding from people that actually are players in that industry. For me, as we speak currently, a 1 year treasury bills, they're actually giving people 25% per annum. So if you can get an investment that gives you 25% per annum, it's not a bad investment because it's risk free. The risk is zero. So it means that a time like this, not a time where you need to actually gamble and want to be aggressive with your money. It's a time where you need to be conservative with the way you play and how you play your investment scheme.